what? We're going to start. I'll let people in if they join as we go. I am super excited to have you guys tonight. Thank you so much. I think now more than ever, it's very clear why we're here and doing what we do. To start, I just sort of want everyone to get a little bit comfortable with each other because we want this to be very interactive. Raise your hands, ask questions, throw something in the chat for all of us. It would be a lot easier if we turn our cameras on. I hope you guys will join me in doing so. You really need to for this next part, which is just, 2 minutes long. So let us see your beautiful faces. And just to get to know each other a little better, raise your hand if you have been to Israel. Okay. That's pretty good. Everyone on camera has been to Israel. So that's 100% of who I can see. Raise your hand if you prefer Nana to aroma iced coffee.
Not at all.
Really, Masha, just you and I. Okay. Raise your hand if you are an immigrant. Wow. Okay.
Oh, nice. We're getting more people on camera.
Yeah.
Don't want to miss out.
Thank you so much for joining. We're just playing a quick game to get to know each other. So raise your hand if you prefer rugelach to babka. Yes, my people.
Yeah.
Okay, raise your hand if you are first generation American. Okay. 2.5, 3.
I'm sorry. Immigrant would be like 0 generation?
Oh, yeah, you are, Konstantin, you're 0 generation.
0 generation. Then I'm out of this.
You're out also?
Yeah.
So Natalie, are you first generation or 0?
0.
So really, we only have a half. Jake, what does half mean?
Well, my mom's from England, so I was born here. It was the first one of hers to be born in America.
Okay.
But my dad's American, so half.
Okay, we have a half. Okay. Just 2 more. Raise your hand if you prefer Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Okay. I know this is my half because I'm like, I'll take anywhere in Israel, really. And then the last one before we get started, raise your hand if you have ever experienced anti-Semitism. Okay. And that's the one that I'm not so happy to see everyone raise their hand to, but it explains why we're all here. So thank you guys for joining us. I wanted to just remind everyone this is a parents' presentation. So if teens are around and listening, of course, they're welcome to, but really we are gearing this information session towards parents and any questions you guys might have. Like I mentioned earlier, please drop any questions in the chat, unmute yourself, ask questions. This is interactive. We want you guys to feel comfortable. We want you to leave here with all of your questions answered. So you sign your teens up and they become part of our Club Z family. So I'm going to start by introducing the visionary behind Club Z, our executive director, our CZO, that's a Chief Zionist Officer, Masha Merkalova. Masha's going to just be with us for a few minutes. So if you have any questions for her, think about them now. And before she starts, we're going to open with just a short video to introduce you to Club Z.
I founded Club Z to give kids and teens tools to address difficult questions about Zionism in Israel in a way that is positive and honest. High school students are faced with anti-Semitism every single day in public high schools. What do you do when your teacher comes into the room wearing Free Palestine t-shirt?
I had a history teacher who made a heavily biased presentation against Israel. He threw out a lot of factually incorrect things. And since I knew all this stuff from Club Z, I was able to correct him.
What do you do when your teacher hangs a Palestinian flag in a classroom?
I was wearing a Star of David on around my neck. A person at my school came up to me and asked me if I was Jewish, and I said yes, and then they called me a fascist pig.
What do you do when your classmates literally take an eraser and erase Israel off the map?
If you're a Jew, people are automatically going to connect you with Israel. And in some cases hate you for that. You don't really have a choice. You can't change that. So you should at least be able to defend yourself when someone comes and attacks you for just being who you are.
These are issues that they bring to us, and then we help them think through what could we do, and we give them choices. The unique part about Club Z is the fact that it is both an academic program and it is also a social club.
It's just every other Sunday morning. Everyone kind of has like a breakfast together. Everyone chats for a bit. We usually will have the topic for the day, some sort of presentation, and then an activity. Sometimes we'll launch into these lengthy debates, which is also really fun.
It's not just the knowledge that you sit and passively receive. You want to do something with that knowledge.
If we can connect their developing identity of Zionism to the true story of Israel, we will have amazingly educated, impassioned activists.
I graduated in 2016, and now I'm a junior in college. The professional development skills that I learned in Club Z, giving presentations, researching, debating, help me every day in my college classes.
Leadership Forum first started with 25 kids, and we just had our last forum. We had over 100 teams. They wanted to meet incredible speakers from which we're learning.
Just the sheer number of speakers who were not Jewish but were advocating for Israel, like Dumasani Washington and Riot Belrose.
We bring college students who can talk to teens about what is happening in their campuses.
I think one of the coolest parts about this conference and just Club Z in general is that they have spanned literally across the US, from Seattle to New York to Ohio. There are people from all across the country with different views, but one thing that holds them together and we all have in common, we all stand for, is Israel.
Our alumni now are spread all over the country, and still they are connected as part of this one community of proactive, articulate, educated Jews who are not afraid to speak up, who are not afraid to raise their hand and say, "Excuse me, professor, perhaps you're wrong." And that is the power of this rapidly growing movement.
Thank you, video. And now, without further ado, Masha Merkalova.
All right. Thank you so much, Ariel. I am going to be with you guys just for a few minutes. You're in very capable hands here, I promise you. Ariel wanted me to speak a little bit about how and why I started Club Z. So all of the pictures that you saw in the video of classroom with the Palestinian flag, of these horrible posters that are on the wall, this is what happened when I went to a bat mitzvah, and bat mitzvah's brother approached me and he's showing me these pictures, and it's September. And he's asking me, what does he do? This is his high school. This is his high school. He is a 10th grader. When he was in 9th grade, he was almost suspended for 3 days from the school because he came into the school wearing an IDF sweatshirt until his parents got involved. And he didn't know where to turn. He took these pictures. This is a high school that is a feeder school from our local Jewish day school. So hundreds of Jewish teens have sat in this classroom under these quote-unquote decorations, and very few of them have recognized that it's a problem. So that's the Jewish part. And the non-Jewish part is that this is allowed to be hanging in the classroom in a public school. And once I started digging more, I realized that Jewish parents are spending tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on their kids' Jewish education. And what do they learn? They learned that Judaism begins with tikkun olam, also known as social justice, and ends with tzedakah, also known as charity. Pardon my English. And that is the extent sort of like of Jewish education at large. And when I looked at college campuses, I was involved with students at Berkeley, Stanford, UC Santa Cruz a little bit. And what I saw is that we have pro-Israel Jewish students who are really wanting to do something. They want to stand up to their professors. They want to organize pro-Israel something, but they don't know anything. They simply are ignorant of the facts. They know that Israel is an innovation nation that invented the cherry tomatoes, and they're trying to have that conversation with their peers, and their peers are telling them, what? Hello, you planted your cherry tomatoes on a stolen land. You're a thief. And they have nothing else to say. So that was my impetus, if you will, to start. I realized like we need to, we're sending them to a hostile environment, and we need to prepare them. That was in 2012. In 2021, I don't think I need to spend that much time explaining and connecting the dots that when people are talking anti-Zionism, it means Jew hatred, right? It's two boys who are Jewish who got beat up in Brooklyn because they were visibly Jewish, right? And what were they asked to do? Do you guys know about this incident? New York parents? Does anybody know what happened a few weeks ago? Two Jewish boys were caught by a mob and were beaten and were made to scream "Free Palestine." Until an Uber driver, by the way, Muslim Uber driver, who realized what was happening and he rescued them, because I don't know how much more they would have been beat up. There was a Jewish boy, one or two Jewish boys that were walking in Los Angeles last Shabbat, less than a week ago, who were targeted by paintballs. I don't know if you've ever taken your children to play paintballs. Paintballs are painful. That's why you wear gear, right? Why were they targeted? Because they're Jews. Because again, people who were targeting them were screaming "Free Palestine." And so when I started looking for a program that could educate my son, so you could see, right, Masha 23, and so I have a 23-year-old and a 7. So when my son was 14 is when I started this, and I really wanted to give him the foundation, and I also wanted to give I don't want my son to be the only Zionist on campus, right? That's not going to help anything. And so the more I was digging in, the more I realized that there is nothing there. Nobody's doing the very difficult job of doing proper Israel education and giving our kids the confidence that they need. It's one thing to know something. It's another thing to be able to speak. And it's finally the third thing, to have the confidence to speak, right? And that is, I think, the biggest difference that we make in our students' lives, is that they are able to know that they are standing in the light. They are the good guys. Good guys are not perfect. We make mistakes. We talk about it. Israel is not perfect. A prime example, Israel had economic relations with apartheid South Africa. It's not a good thing. Not a good thing to do. And then the question is why? Well, why did they have that? Because they loved apartheid, or because they were boycotted themselves and they needed to survive, right? So we don't shy away from difficult things. We are not selling a land of milk and honey. Look at Israel right now. It's a mess, right? 4 elections in 2 years, and now they have this weird government. It's a mess. Okay, it's our mess. We're the Jewish people. We're in this together. And that is, so the 2 big things that we'll work on in Club Z, and that's Naya's going to talk more about it, is really building their Jewish identity and connecting it to Zionism. And my famous or my infamous saying is that I ask our teens, I ask everybody, for goodness sake, please do not stand up for Israel. I will never ask a kid to stand up for Israel. Israel is thousands of miles away, has a powerful military. They can take care of themselves. No Israeli wakes up in the morning wondering if there is American Jews that are standing up for Israel. However, if you consider yourself part of the Jewish people, if you're wearing your Magen David, if you are not hiding the fact that you're a Jew, then you have to understand we have a shared history and we have one destiny. And you have to understand that when people attack Israel, if they had the means, they would attack every Jew. Hamas chapter is not attacking Israelis. Hamas chapter is talking about killing Jews. I'm driving my car. I drive a Subaru Forester, and on it, I happen to still have like this big, huge sticker from End Jew Hatred, right? And my son took my car. He was at a gas station. He's pumping the gas. This happened 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Somebody gets out of his car and starts yelling, "This is not effing Israel," because he sees the End Jew Hatred sticker. And my son just turns around and goes, "Where do you see Israel on my car?" It's not about Israel, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jew hatred. And that's what we need to educate the teens, is how to stand up for themselves, and tools that we give them and the confidence that we give them. It's unparalleled to anywhere else. So with that, Naya, who is our director of education and the soul behind it.
Hi everyone, I'm Naya. I'm located in Los Angeles. I'm the director of education. I would love to continue by showing our presentation. By the way, much like Masha was speaking about the Jewish education, I'm a product. My parents, I'm from the former Soviet Union, but when they came here, they sent me to a Jewish day school through eight grades, and I received, much like this, a very specific Jewish education where Israel was really not taught a lot, and this was what we got. And additionally, I wanted to show you another thing. A student of ours this time in Los Angeles, they had a homework assignment, and they had to unscramble. Palestine is also called the Holy Land, and you see a Palestinian woman is being hit over the head. So they are bombarded with this anti-Israel narrative, Jew-hating narrative. And what is it that we do? So as director of education, I wanted to talk to you about our curriculum, which is really, it's our program, as Ariel will speak about, is multifaceted, but the core is the education. And it rests on these three pillars: peoplehood, Zionism, and advocacy. And through each of these pillars, we bolster their knowledge, identity, and confidence. So peoplehood, a very important thing under the notion is to understand that Judaism is not a religion. Judaism is an ethnicity. I think somebody's trying to get in. And this kind of shocks our teens in the beginning. We have this conversation with them many times. We bring an indigenous rights activist, Ryan Bellerose, to remind Jews, you are in fact an indigenous group, and your home, your ancestral homeland is Israel. And we work intensively through various sessions on what is called identity Zionism. So it's this strong idea that we are Jews and our Jewishness is connected to the land of Israel, which brings us to the second pillar, Zionism. Under this pillar, this is really a knowledge, repository of knowledge. Here we learn about the history of Israel. Here we learn about international law and legal rights. What legal rights did Israel take or the Jews take in order to make Israel legal, the country in international law? And of course, we talk about the Arab-Israeli conflict. And this is kind of the knowledge base. And the third, which is really important, and this is the confidence, is advocacy, this pillar. And in this pillar, we we train them in public speaking, peer-to-peer advocacy, because advocacy looks very different if you're speaking up in a classroom, if you're raising your hand and asking a teacher, or if you're talking to a friend peer-to-peer. And the third one, because anti-Semitism has migrated into various epicenters, one of which is social media, the other advocacy that we teach is how do we be proactive ambassadors of the Jewish people. And that is this curriculum. It rests on these three pillars. Once again, it's identity, it's knowledge, it's action. Action through speech, action through putting on events, action through going to rallies. My teens in LA, they come with me to the rallies. Some of our teens speak. In fact, I'm going to show you right now. So just before I show you the teen, what does all this do? What does all of this do? It really helps teens recognize bias, because we're living in a day and age where there's history and there's narrative, and or facts and narratives, and people, they'll say the facts, but then they'll emphasize the narrative, and narratives are biased. All narratives are biased. So we teach them to recognize bias. We teach them how to identify modern anti-Semitism. We give them basic knowledge about the history of the Jewish people and the conflict. And I really would do this in order for them to understand that they are, as Masha says, when they are standing up for Israel, they're not standing up for Israel because Israel has a strong idea, but for themselves as Jews, they are ambassadors in the diaspora. So all of this, I just want to show you one of our teens speaking at a rally in Los Angeles. She wrote the speech herself. She was in Club Z for 3 years. And I really think you guys are in for a treat. She's a senior, she's graduating, and there was an incident, I don't know if you remember, about a year ago last summer at USC, a Jewish student was forced to resign off of student senate because of her Zionist identity. And here is our student calling out the board of directors at USC.
Why? Because BDS and other Jew-hating groups have so successfully maligned and vilified the word Zionism so as to distort it from its meaning entirely. Zionism is not their word. Zionism is the word of the Jewish people. There is no Jewish people without our homeland. There is no Jewish people without the land of Israel. It is time that the same consequences be given to those who attack Jews as are given to those who attack any other race, ethnicity, or religion. It is time that we hold Jew haters to the same level of accountability as we hold haters of all other races, religions, and backgrounds. Why? Because BDS and
so this is the student who went and decided to give the speech. And really, you have to understand, I was standing there, and to this day, it gives me chills. There's the power of her voice, of this young girl who's 17, synthesizing really anti-Semitism today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and introduce you. You're going to have a very rare and amazing glimpse to speak to one of our teens who's also graduating. He's joining us today. So I'm stopping the screen. Daniel, hi. Daniel is in Brooklyn. He's our senior. He's been with us for a long time, and I would love for you to speak, Daniel. The floor is yours. Oh, we can't hear you. Can't hear you still. Maybe, let's see. Maybe he'll log off and log on. But we wanted to bring to you so you could hear, like from the horse's mouth, basically, what our teens are saying. Okay, he's coming back in. Let's see.
While Daniel is joining, I just want to point out that, not all students are going to be rally speakers and, these like, standing with a flag. Other students are writing op-eds. Other students could start a club in their school, or they could just simply talk to their friends. And I have to say, I'm so happy. All of our, okay, I don't know if all, but we have a national chat with all of our teens, and I think all of them are there. There's like over 120 teens there. And these 3 weeks of the Gaza war, the 10 days, and then some trailing, they were all on social media, and they were all really it was their coming out because they were standing up for themselves to their friends. And that's a big deal. And it's really scary to do if you don't have the support network. But when you have the support network of your peers and of adults who will guide you, then they feel the empowerment of like, yes, I can do, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. That boy who took those pictures all those years ago, he was ostracized in his high school. He never did anything Jewish in college because we're friends, like we're family friends. And he's like, I was all by myself. There was nobody else that I could speak to about it. And that's what our kids in Club Z, they're never alone. They're just not. We're always there for them. Daniel.
Hey everyone, I'm Daniel. I'm a Club Z senior, and I've been interested in Zionism ever since Operation Protective Edge in 2014, when my family was in bomb shelters due to incoming rockets. And as soon as I found out about Club Z, I jumped on the opportunity to join right away. I loved it, and I got all my friends involved. At first, there were only 5 of us, and now there's about 50, I think, which is just crazy for me to think even. My friends didn't want to join at first, but when they did join, they really loved it when they tried it. And yeah, we have a national conference every year in the Silicon Valley with awesome speakers and opportunities to meet teams from the New York City area, Charlotte, North Carolina, the Bay Area, San Diego, and Los Angeles. And throughout the years, we've also had many social events because Club Z is a balance of learning and fun, both. For example, we had movie nights. I believe we had around 5 this year. And we also had a chocolate Seder for Passover, which was super fun and unique. And yeah, so as we know, recently there was an 11-day conflict in Israel. And with this came the rise of anti-Semitism everywhere, in the streets, social media, and in our classrooms even. In my school, Bard High School Early College in Manhattan, I received an email from my English teacher saying that a Jewish anti-Zionist senior was going to deliver a presentation to freshmen about how Zionism is basically white supremacy and colonialism. And as soon as I read this, my blood was boiling. I was like, wow, this is blatantly anti-Semitic. And I knew this because of our lessons at Club Z discussing the various languages that portray anti-Semitism. So immediately I called Ariel. We got Masha, Naya, and Dan, who was one of our Brooklyn educators, involved, as well as my parents. And we emailed the school. We emailed the principal, the administration. We tried to get the school to allow me to present my side of the story, our side, and the school said no way. So what I ended up doing was I went to the event, and with the help of Dan, who was on the phone with me the entire time, I was able to tackle this instance of anti-Semitism with support rather than dealing with it on my own. We would dispute the points being made by the presenter in the chat, basically. And yeah, so with Club Z's help, I was able to tackle this situation rather than being alone. And I don't know what I would have done if it wasn't for Club Z. And especially now more than ever, I think about how Club Z is the best choice I've ever made, because I honestly don't know what I would do without it in today's world for the Jews.
Daniel's currently writing a paper, his final senior paper on anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, a deep dive, about 15 pages or so. And we've been helping him. He's been asking for sources, and he's really taking it very seriously. So I'm very, very proud to know you, Daniel. At this point, I'm going to Ariel, who's our regional director in New York. And Ariel is going to give you an overview, a 360-degree overview of Club Z.
Thank you, Naya, and thank you, Daniel, so much for coming and for telling everyone your story. Hi, guys. I'm Ariel Mogul. I am the New York Regional Director. You have all received emails from me because you've signed up. And I hope that you will also use me as a resource in the future moving forward. We are open to you and to your families. So I'm really excited to just give you a brief overview of what a year in Club Z looks like. So we are pretty much a school year. We start in September, give or take Jewish holidays, and we go through May or June. What that looks like is a big opening retreat. This is a social event for the ages. The teens get together. It's like a weekend sleepaway camp. I call it Camp Club Z. We're sleeping in bunks, we're playing sports, we're doing arts and crafts, we're getting deep down and dirty and like asking questions. We're doing overnights, like under the stars, where literally we played a game last year. It was a little bit of capture the flag. We called it a little bit of IDF training, where we were like on our bellies with complete camouflage on our face, crawling through the woods to try and make it safely to our base. It was just like such an incredible experience. And the point of this retreat is for our teens to bond. It's for our teens to form community, to have friends, to have people they can rely on, to get excited for the year ahead, right? You guys know this, our teens are in school 5 days a week. They're in after-curricular activities. They're studying for tests. They're taking SATs. The last thing you want to do is then push more school, more classroom on them for just the sake of learning. So how do we balance that? We create this community, we create these friendships, we make them excited to want to be at Club Z. We get them pumped up to meet with their friends once every other week, to come to social events. So that really is the point of the opening retreat. It's our welcome to Club Z, it's our orientation, and it's our like kickoff social events of the year. I'll tell you the biggest and I might say only complaint, but consistently that we had from last year's retreat was that it was too short. So when you have a bunch of teens telling you they want more, you know that we were successful. Once the retreat happens, and this year that will be happening upstate New York, we'll give you all the information. Ari just put it in the chat for you guys if you want to check it out. We have our Ramon Institute session. That is the educational component of Club Z. That is where we get like the nitty gritty, we deep dive the amazing curriculum that Naya put together, which is so well thought out, and building blocks. We start at the beginning and we just continue to build. Our teens grow with it. We've had teens, Daniel, who just spoke to us, has been with Club Z for 3 years. We have teens who are coming back next year for the 4th. They were part of our pilot program. We just keep building and learning. What that academic part of our curriculum looks like is between 12 to 15 sessions a year, given, Jewish holidays. Sometimes they just pile on Sundays. Those are classroom settings. We really pride ourselves and our team of educators, which, is led by Naya. It's not just sitting there and being taught at. It's not watching a screen. It's really an engaging, hands-on, experiential approach to learning. So our teens don't feel bored. They feel inspired. They really want to be there because they're getting to like practice. There's an advocacy component and a debate component and a writing component. We have leadership development. We do public speaking courses, and the older teens that have been with us for multiple years, we do fellowship training. We help build resumes and LinkedIn profiles, and we introduce them to people, get them internships. So that's the educational component, but it's really important to note that the reason it's so exciting for our teens is not just because they're learning all of this new information, which they are, it's because they're doing it with their friends. That's the social element to our program. And that's why I truly believe that Club Z is so successful, because we're not just teaching, we're also building a community. And we're doing that through the social gatherings, which we really put a lot of ownership into our teens. We say to them, what do you guys want? Help me plan this event. We have a picnic in a park coming up next weekend on June 12th, which we'll tell you guys all about. And that was a concept from our teens. They want to invite their teens, they want to invite their friends, they want to get more teens signed up for next year. And they were like, I think we just need a day in the park where we can play games and hang out like a pre-Camp Club Z. So we're just doing a picnic in the park. We had a Friendsgiving. You can see some of the pictures on the screen. Our Friendsgiving was inspired by the teens. Ari and I were working together and we said, great, you guys, we're going to make this killer. We are going to set up the best hot chocolate bar you guys have ever seen. And we're going to bring every topping that you could possibly dream about having on your hot chocolate. And you're all going to bring desserts, and we're going to have a potluck dessert hot chocolate Thanksgiving. But you have to, in turn, think of a special project that we can do to give back to the community. And they decided on their own, and we went back and forth and we created lists, and it was incredible. What they came up with was we did essentially an essentials drive for lone soldiers in Israel. So we reached out to some organizations in Israel. They gave us lists of what American lone soldiers are craving. Chocolate from America, which is crazy because if you had the chocolate with the Pop Rocks from Israel, that's way superior. But socks and toothbrushes, and I think someone sent like the bag of Smart Pop popcorn that I can get behind. But we put together these huge boxes, and actually our teens in Charlotte joined in, and they put together a box, and they sent it to us in New York, and we sent it over to Israel. And this was all inspired by our teens and how they wanted to give back. So that's just an example of how we get our teens involved. So you know some of the other pictures you're looking at a family event. If you look in the bottom left corner, that's a Yom HaShoah event. We did a memorial service on the beach for the community. Friends, family, siblings, everyone joined. If you look on the bottom right-hand corner, and I know this is going to excite most of you the most because this is a parents event. We said no kids, we brought out the booze, and we had a prohibition Purim party. And we had a sushi feast, and we all dressed up in costumes. And I think we finished a significant amount of bottles of wine, and we just had a great time because Club Z is not just about the teens, it's about your family. It's about you guys as parents. It's about the community that we're forming. It's about your children who have already graduated and who haven't had the opportunity for Club Z, and it's about your children who are about to start middle school and want to join in the future. All of Club Z is culminated by our one event in the middle of the year called our National Conference. This happens every year, Martin Luther King weekend, and teens from all over the United States, they come. This is actually an event that's open to teens throughout. You do not have to be a Club Z member, although it is part of the Institute and a requirement for the Institute, but we also welcome teens who don't have chapters, who want to check it out. So this event, the one that I was at pre-COVID, we had over 150 teens, and this is what teens say is the best experience of their entire year. We have the most incredible speakers, Jews, non-Jews, Christians, Muslims, men, women, all sides of the political spectrum. The one thing that we all have in common is Israel. And our teens feel that. And this is also incorporating the leadership training and all of the elite programming that we provide our kids all year long. Our teens come in business casual attire. They are ready to work. They are ready to learn. They have notebooks. They take notes. They ask questions. And then at night, what do you think happens? Social, ice cream social, pajama party, karaoke. We make it fun. And that's why our teens really connect with our programming. We think about them and how we're really going to make it work for them, work for their friends, and work for their families. So that is really Club Z in a year. I definitely want to open up for questions. I want you guys to, we have, 15, 20 minutes left. I want you to, anything you can think of, anything that you might want to know. And of course, if you don't think of it now or you want to reach out later, we will absolutely, you have my email address. We'll drop our email addresses again in the channel. We'll drop our cell phone numbers. Please, that's what we're here for. We're here to walk you through this process and get you excited. Ari already put the link and how to register, but we'll put it again because I know you guys are just going to leave here and run to the website and sign your teens up. But before that happens, please unmute yourselves, ask some questions, let us know what you guys are thinking, and we can.
Ariel, there's also a deadline for application, right?
Correct. So our deadline for signing up is June 30th. Because we start our programming for the next year, as soon as the summer, and we want our teens to feel really excited to be part of it.
And then Ariel, you have a question from Natalie. Oh, perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Ari. I saw that Natalie said she's a 12th grader. Is it too late for her to join? Absolutely not. It's far better for her to have 1 year with Club Z than no years with Club Z.
Yes.
Absolutely. And we had a senior join this year. It was her first year. Her friends had joined. She hadn't heard about it. And she really wanted to leave Club Z with all of the knowledge. So she worked special with Naya on some things. She's called Ari and myself to go over certain articles and play catch up. But even if even if your daughter just comes and does the 1 year, she will leave with so much knowledge and so much preparation for college that it's absolutely worth it. And we have tons of seniors. So she'll definitely find a group that when they do go off to college, they have networks. That's the beautiful thing about Club Z. Besides the fact that you have your local chapter, and now through the conference, your national chapters, our seniors, we have an alumni program. Our seniors, they start pro-Israel clubs on campus. They engage with Zionist causes, and they lean on each other. And some of them even go to school together, which is really incredible. I had a Brooklyn teen last year who graduated and went to Wake Forest in North Carolina, which is where Masha's son Philip went. And they were able to connect and talk about all of the programming that he had helped set up there, that she was able to just go and join and help and continue to grow. So yes, thank you for that question. Absolutely, send your 12th graders, absolutely. Ari mentioned that there was a question about from someone from Syracuse. Am I right about that? I thought I saw that somewhere.
Yep, that's us.
Oh, hi. So while we do not yet have a physical location in Syracuse, we are offering an online session for families who do not have a physical chapter. That means, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're more than 65 miles or over an hour and a half drive from a local chapter, which Syracuse check, you guys are more than welcome to join our online program, which is very similar. We still request that our teens come to their closest physical location for the retreat, so they feel part of this community in person. So they still come to our conference, but they will be meeting online so they can have the same educational experience.
Yeah, we have an online institute for families that do not live where the chapter is. And another question I saw, we begin in 8th grade. That's where we begin.
Yes, and our locations have had so many people sign up that we've actually been splitting our groups by grade and by prior knowledge. So the longer you're at Club Z, the higher you go into breaking up the groups, and also by age, because 8th graders and 12th graders aren't at the same cognitive level, and they're not going to ask the same questions, and they're not going to feel 8th graders are not going to feel prepared the way a 12th grader might feel in this educational setting, in this classroom setting. So we also do split our teens by age and by content knowledge.
Is there I didn't see a link to online registration. Am I looking in the wrong place? I saw
when you click the link that Ari just dropped, it'll take you to our pro class, which is our database. In our database, the online option is there. I will also make sure to send that to you personally. Have it in your class.
Where they can find information about the online program. It's also in pro class, right? It's they would sign up through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll send that to you, Anna, for sure. Speaking of sending you guys things, I'm just going to tell you very quickly while you're thinking of, oh, great. Sorry, let me answer a question first. Valeria asked, how long are the in-person sessions? So it depends on your location and which day they're happening. Valeria, where are you guys located?
San Jose, Bay Area.
Okay, great. Moshe.
So our in-person sessions in the Bay Area, they're every other Sunday during the year. And you're asking about the Institute, correct? Yeah, so they last from 9 to 3, 3 hours, 9 to 12, 15 Sundays out of the year. Okay. And we also have socials, in between. Thanks. conferences and retreats. So I'll put my contact information in the chat. Feel free to shoot me an email. I would love to give you more information. We have some socials coming up.
Moshe is in charge of our Bay Area chapter, so he is definitely going to be the person to take care of you. For anyone who's also on the call, similar to how the Bay Area does, our Brooklyn location is also the same. We are Sunday sessions, roughly every other week for about 13 to 15 sessions. And they're held because we have so many teens in Brooklyn. We have 2 sessions. We have the 9 a.m. to the noon and the noon to the 3 p.m. And that is split by age and level. What those sessions entail, besides the education, is breakfast or lunch, depending on which time you come, and breaks in between. Teens need breaks, they need food. We all know food is the way to a teen's heart, and they need time to hang out and socialize with their friends. So we provide that, and that's why it's set up in a 3-hour block.
Ariel, but in addition to Brooklyn, there's also a Manhattan chapter.
Absolutely. So our Manhattan chapter and our Westchester chapter, I don't know if anyone here is closer to those locations. Those happen on evenings. Right now, Manhattan is scheduled for Tuesday evenings from 6:30 to 9 p.m. Same situation, just a little bit more condensed. We provide dinner, and then first part of our session, little break, second part of our session. And our Westchester Institute sessions will be very similar to that, but on Wednesday evenings, 6:30 to 9 p.m. A little bit of dinner, hangout, first half of the session, small break, second half of the session. Natalie asked where the Brooklyn location is. We have an amazing clubhouse on Coney Island. I promise you, when I tell you that we are overlooking Luna Park, that is our backdrop. We have the beach, we have the Ferris wheel. It is just the most beautiful clubhouse. Our teens don't want to leave, and it really feels like home to them. And we make them treat it like home, so they have to clean up after themselves, which you guys will thank us for when they get back to your real home. Yeah, our clubhouse happened because of COVID. So some really great things happened because of COVID for us. We used to rent out space in Jewish community centers. And when we weren't sure if that was going to be happening this year, we really wanted to make this work for our teens. And we found this clubhouse, and it was, so exciting and so incredible that we're going to keep that going. So that's Brooklyn.
Naya, I had a question about where LA meets.
Los Angeles currently meets in the Valley and in the city. Anybody who knows LA, it's like 2 cities. There's the Valley, and then there's West LA. So we somehow this year managed to meet in the middle, but we had an institute for Valley, and we had one in the city, Beverly Hills area.
Awesome, thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions? Luba, I don't know, are you trying to ask us a question? If you are, you're muted. If not, no. Okay, kids in the background, I got it. I got it. Anything else we can answer for you guys? Like I said, if you think of something later, please, you'll email myself, Ari, Moshe, Naya, Jake, Ella. We have our whole team here to take care of you guys. I'll drop my cell phone in there, so you have that. Send me a text. I do want to tell you guys, just so you can think of a few more questions, I do want to tell you what we have coming up. These events are really, before I tell you about our events, which are for teens, I want to tell you something that most parents ask me when I have one-on-one phone calls with them. And they say, I get it. I know how important Club Z is, and I want my teens to join, but I'm not sure that they're going to buy in. And I say to them, send them to us, send them to the retreat, have them come to the Club Z Institute for 3 sessions. They have to come to the retreat and 3 sessions, and you're not allowed to discuss what they feel or want in terms of leaving until after the 3rd session. And I've been doing this for 3 years now. And in 3 years, and I've said this to almost every single parent, that we have a few students like Daniel who find us and make their parents sign them up. But majority of our teens need a little bit of pushing and prodding from their parents. And this is what I tell them all. Because one of our teens, when he graduated, in his speech said, Club Z is the best thing my mom ever made me sign up for. And it's true. you know, you have to give your teens a little nudge, and I promise you, we will keep them. We will make them want to come back. After 3 years, I've only had one teen who it was too much for him. He chose not to come, to continue coming after the three institute sessions. And then guess what happened? He just registered again with his sister for this year. So our odds are really good. With that being said, we have 2 really exciting events coming up for our teens. These are recruitment events where all of our current Club Z teens are going to be there. They're bringing their friends to try and encourage them to come to Club Z. And I encourage you to send your teens also. Let them spend a day with us and with all of our teens. And I promise you, they're going to be like, please sign me up. So on June 6th, this Sunday, we have an event in Westchester. One of our Westchester families is hosting us in their gorgeous backyard in Armonk on the water. And we have Aiden Golub coming to speak to our teens. He is a college student.
Muted.
I don't know what just happened. Sorry. You guys heard me say Westchester, June 6th, Sunday. Awesome. Aiden Golub is coming to speak to our teens and to our parents. This is an event that is, because it's so far for a lot of our families, parents are welcome to stay and schmooze and hang out with other parents while our teens are together. Aiden Golub is a Harvard University student who is a fierce Israel advocate. He has gotten involved in Israel policy and politics, and he is going to talk to our teens about what that looks like and also share with our parents. So after the teens are done with Aiden, they're going to go have some ice cream and hang out with each other, and then the parents get to hear from Aiden as well. So that's really exciting. I will absolutely in my follow-up email send you the link to sign up for that. And June 12th, which is a Saturday afternoon, we are having a Shabbat afternoon picnic in the park. So we are meeting in the middle of Central Park, and we are just going to have the most epic afternoon. We're going to have food. We're going to have snacks. We're going to have drinks. We're going to have kickballs and frisbees. One of our teens have asked, because one of the best events that they had at camp were friendship bracelets. They asked if we could do those. We're doing friendship bracelets. This is camp for Shabbos. It's going to be an amazing day. Our teens from Manhattan, Brooklyn, Westchester, they're all registered. So please send your teens to us on Saturday and let us show them what Club Z is all about. I will send you guys, I'm going to send an email tomorrow with a follow-up from this phone call. I'm going to include the link to register. I'm going to include the link for the June 6th event and the link for the June 12th event. If you guys have any other questions, please feel free to ask us now. And if not, email us. Oh, does someone have a question? I thought I heard someone have a question. Okay, that's cool. You guys, please email us, call us. That's what we are here for. We're just so excited that you even are considering sending your teens to us. And we're so grateful for that opportunity. And also for you guys, because it's not just the teens, it's the family as well. So thank you so much for joining. I'm just going to quickly put my cell phone in the chat, my email address, and I will be in touch with all of you tomorrow via email. And I thank you for your time. I know it's precious. Have a wonderful night, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye. Great to meet you all.